This is 100% the kind of movie that a film kid would like base their senior thesis on. One of these shots will be in someone's senior film at the end of the semester. I support them. Hey everyone, it's T. So everyone on all of my timelines is talking about Saltburn, which makes sense because it stars the tall white man of the hour, Jacob Elordi. And there are plenty of opinions about the plot of the film and the storyline and all of that. But I don't care for discourse, I just want to talk about the look of the film. So today we're talking about the art direction, costuming, and set design of Saltburn. Also, there will be spoilers. I tried to write this without spoilers and it was kind of confusing, so Saltburn is a thriller? I saw some people call it a horror movie and I was like, oh, this is very, very tame. Either way, it stars Jacob Elordi as Felix, an heir to some sort of a rich kid. He's rich and beautiful. And Barry Keoghan as Oliver, who is more nerdy and a social outcast. They both go to Oxford, and Oliver slowly becomes obsessed with Felix. He becomes his friend, reveals his home life is full of tragedy and sadness, and Felix offers for him to stay over the summer at his family estate, Saltburn, and then things just kind of go downhill. So one of the first points that the movie makes with costume is that Oliver kind of wears the official school merch on his first day, the scarf, the blazer, the tie, and then the wealthier students make fun of him because they're in more casual, everyday outfits. You know, people expect wealthier people to kind of be decked out in designer all the time, or just like show their wealth in obvious ways. And in reality, they're just kind of wearing casual clothes. I kind of related because when I went to a private school on scholarship, I expected everyone to wear like super expensive things all the time. But like most people wore wrinkly cargos. And Oliver starts out very conservatively dressed, very buttoned up, and becomes much more casual as he starts to like infiltrate Felix's social circle. I really like the scene in which we're formally introduced to Farley, mostly just because of the office that the advisor is in. There are books stacked everywhere and placed kind of haphazardly, full boxes, loose VHS tapes. I like it as a show of character. You see that the advisor is very disinterested in how academically versed Oliver is. He says that it's ridiculous to read the whole summer reading list, but we also see how excited he gets over Farley's mom, who he had a crush on, or so it's implied when they went to Oxford together. As a college professor, he's kind of dazzled by the social aspect, the proximity to wealth, and the lack of care for academics, I think really shows in the way that he treats his office, in my opinion. Like, they could have made it clean and pristine if they wanted to, but they didn't. So the production designer, Susie Davies, says in an interview that Oliver has the worst room in the dorm, while Felix has the best room. Oliver's room is pretty small, kind of dark, but I really love Felix's room in comparison. Red carpet, red curtains, huge windows, and very, very messy to show that someone's always cleaned up after him. And also, when Oliver tries to clean up after him, he gets kind of freaked out about it because it puts into contrast the class disparity between the two. I also love that like red curtains are used later in Saltburn's dining room to a much different effect. But for this, I think it's really just used to show the kind of richness that he has a beautiful high class kind of room. So like the use of red, I was watching and reading some interviews from both the costume and production designers, and they both seemed very reluctant to say that the color red was like present as symbolism for the events of the film, namely murder. They mostly mentioned just wanting to add more color. So I wouldn't go so far as to say like, oh, the red was a symbol for the blood of the... It's fine. So I'm not really going to go that far with it. I do think that one or both referenced red as like a powerful color. In that vein, I think it's perfect. The results are pretty satisfying whenever it's used. There are a lot of Oxford things that I'm probably not getting, both as an American and a person that didn't go there. But the director, Emerald Fennell, did go there and studied English Lit, and there are a lot of references to different literature. One interesting bit that I did find, Oliver mentioned reading the poem My Last Duchess. The speaker keeps a portrait of the Duchess after she dies, is murdered, I think by poisoning. Later on in Saltburn, we see We see a picture. I don't know how I'm going to get this clip in. I'm going to have to make it very small. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is, I know virtually nothing about classic literature, so most direct references are beyond me. So let's move on to Saltburn, which was filmed on location at Drayton House. I want to pause here and say that I love that the film often centers Oliver in the frame and makes him look very small in comparison to like his surroundings or other people. So when Oliver arrives, Felix gives him a big walkthrough of the entire house. He's very casual about these very ornate and expensive surroundings. And while I was watching, I was super curious. I was like, surely they couldn't change much in this very old house, right? Like, it must look like this in real life. Because what often happens is, like, the owners of the house or the location or whatever are like, no, I actually live here, don't change anything. Or even like, it's historical and for culture, so you can't do anything. But I looked at interviews and apparently they did a lot. The production designer literally says that they were given free rein. Quote, when we got to the boys' rooms, the family allowed us to paint the walls this lush, rich, basically red, shiny glaze, change the tapestry, put up our own wallpaper, change the floor, rip out a bathroom, put in a dressing room, rip out a bedroom, put in another bathroom. And what a dream to have free rein like that. And from the pictures on Google, it does look really different. So we go through all these beautiful rooms. We go through Felix's room. I love that his bed is painted turquoise and he has like these ornate little thingies on the walls. Through the beautiful bathroom, the wonderful, I don't know, hallway with the dressing room. And then we get to Oliver's room and it's so normal. On second watch though, I noticed the wallpaper. In a lot of interviews I saw it referred to as the maze wallpaper. It's vintage, 1960s, and meant to invoke the maze in the garden. Susie Davies also says that the bathroom wallpaper mirrors the sinews in Barry Keoghan's back, which I appreciate. I actually completely forgot for a minute that this was supposed to be like a period piece until I saw the TV that the family watches. But the majority of the film is set in 2006, and it's mostly shown through costume. Farley's hair was modeled after Corbin Bleu, your tween crush and mine. Oliver's was Zac Efron, and Venetia, Felix's sister, has bleach damage to call back to the socialites during the mid-2000s, like heiress era. I honestly feel like I would have seen some of these outfits on an MTV show like My Super Sweet 16. There was a bunch of like heiress content on MTV at the time, and I feel like I would have seen some of these outfits on it. So Fennell actually donated some of her mid-2000s clothes to the cast, including an Alexander McQueen jacket. I tried to match some of the luxury fashion that Elspeth, the mother, wears with the designers, but knowing brand designers is not my thing. Someone on TikTok or YouTube will make a video with a full breakdown about it, so I leave it to them. I do like that choice to have Elspeth constantly wear designer clothes at home, unlike her son, to really double down on the snobbery and make her seem very unattainable. I find it very funny that the mood board for Felix was Prince Harry. It makes a lot of sense for his character. And I will say that even though the majority of the cast is very laid back, 2000s wardrobe, Farley's wardrobe is always eye-catching and very clean, very individual. I don't think he's fashionable just because he's gay and that's the stereotype. I think it ties into singling him out and marking him as different, the American, a lot more conspicuous than everyone else. Pamela, who is literally a throwaway character, but I still find her inclusion like necessary just to show the family's character, like Catton's character. She's super individual and eye-catching, velvet clothes, fishnets, jewels. Kind of the stereotype of like someone that is interesting and fashion-forward and stuff. But the family finds her boring in every other way, so they put her out. She's literally like a fashion doll that they throw away. A pretty good illustration to the line that everyone tells Oliver that Felix will get bored with him, and all the more reason for him to keep up his whole charade. There are lots of little things that I think add to the overall vibe of the film. Lots of low light. There's scenes that I think are entirely lit by candles. Emerald Fennell refers to the film as a vampire movie, which I can really see in the night shots and when Oliver is like sneaking around. And exterior scenes always seem to have a pop of color really adding to the debauchery and the fun of the experience. And it kind of contrasts with the inside, which is a lot of rich royal colors. When we find out that Oliver is not poor, and in fact, middle class, upper middle class with like 2 very living parents. I love the like cheerful pastel surroundings and the like live, laugh, love decor. It really adds to the whole bit. And I also like that they used a color that we didn't see in probably any of the other locations, like a mint green. Sunny, cheerful, mentally well, maybe. The clown box was something that I didn't pay much attention to on the first watch, but it features each family member as a character. The production handmade it, and I realized that the Midsummer Night's birthday party has a stage that mirrors the box where Oliver and Farley have their last significant conversation. I don't know, I find that interesting just because Oliver is trying to be a part of the family, right? And technically so is Farley. He feels almost like an outsider in his own right. He's American, he's black, he's half black. He's kind of living there on their dime. So in a way they're also kind of actors in this play, in this comedy, tragedy. And the birthday party is probably the most visually striking sequence. Lots of multicolored lights inside, beautiful stars and moons outside, very like whimsical. And certainly going for the kind of fairy outside of reality theme. I felt very relieved that this was based on A Midsummer Night's Dream because that was the only Shakespeare piece that I understood more than 50% of. So at least I could call on that very tiny bit of literary knowledge for this one. And of course, everyone is dressed to the nines. Felix is in a very relaxed fit. Of course, it fits his character. But he does have the wings. I immediately recognize the wings as the same ones Claire Danes wears in Romeo plus Juliet. The costume designer, I think, even confirms that in an interview, which is interesting because it's a Midsummer Night's Dream. It's not Romeo and Juliet. So in reality, Felix is doing this partly to be different and partly because he's lazy, I think. But like, he looks good doing it, so like, no one's gonna say anything. And that's the beauty of it, right? Farley is bottom, which, you know, something, the irony of both his sexuality and the fact that he is an ass. Elspeth is in her Titania gown, which was on a runway somewhere, I don't remember where. And Oliver is supposed to be the changeling child with his horns. And now, I'm bringing my extremely limited Shakespeare knowledge. The changeling child was Titania's, like, not like son, but like maybe adopted son, I don't know. And she refused to give him away to Oberon, her husband. For what reason, I can't remember. But Oberon finally takes the changeling away from Titania at some point. I don't remember why. Yep, that quite literally happens in the movie. I did not pay attention to whether or not the father character is dressed as Oberon. It doesn't matter. Symbolism. According to Sophie Canali, the costume designer, the embroidery on Oliver's jacket is custom and inspired by British folk costumes, which I could only find a few references for online. And also, we know that the party is based on Shakespeare, but there's also the Greek mythology angle. The Minotaur in the middle of the maze is sculpted using Barry Keoghan's body as a reference. And I could see the horns being a reference to Oliver as the Minotaur in this situation, but that would also make Felix with his wings and hubris Icarus. I didn't recognize the Icarus thing until I saw Seema R on TikTok pointed out, but I did notice the wing tattoo on his ribs. So I think the reference is very purposeful from the start. So Felix dies, and the captains are in mourning, and the curtains are drawn, and it creates this incredible red tint to the dining room as the family shows differing signs of distress. It's kind of really striking to see. You could even make a case for if red equals power, Oliver has all of the power over the situation. He's the only one holding it together. He kicks Farley out, etc. This is an aside, but I really love when a movie has like a very uncomfortable drawn out mourning scene. I think one of the first movies I saw do this was The Host by Bong Joon-ho. Another thing that I did not realize until I did the research was throughout the movie, Oliver has slowly started to dress like Felix. When they discover his body, he's literally wearing Felix's robe. His obsession has kind of reached its zenith at that point. Now he's starting the journey to becoming Felix. And Connolly mentions this. Oliver tries for the rest of the movie to embody this look of wealth, but he never really gets it. Just like at the start, he actually just needs the wealth. Don't we all? Lastly, this has a lot less to do with the art department and more to do with the directing. But I love when they kick Oliver out and he's just surrounded by servants. A lovely visual way to say, you are just a regular guy. So that's it. Super stunning visuals in the film. I was excited to see this because I love everything that Barry Keoghan does. I've been following him since The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I love his weird, horrible characters and his, White Walker eyes. But tell me what you think. I'm sure I missed something. The film is super polarizing, apparently. So if you want to argue, please be nice. Like if you want, comment if you feel like it. And a caveat to say that I'm not a video essayist. So if you subscribe looking for that, you will be disappointed. Thanks for making it this far, though. Thanks for watching.